This is a Toyota Prius. I know, it's not exactly what you picture when you think of a Prius, but Toyota's helping its new design will help lose some of the Prius's stigma. But it's not just the looks that are updated. The regular Prius now makes 196 horsepower, while this Prius Prime not only delivers 40 miles of all-electric driving, but a whopping 220 horsepower. All of that combined with an updated and much improved interior and driving that has some dynamics about it means that the Prius doesn't suck. And it more than doesn't suck, it's actually good. Yeah, I said it. The Prius is a good car. Now, other than Ubers, I haven't spent any time in previous generation Priuses because I always wanted to avoid them, but I had been hearing so much about this new Prius that I just had to check it out. Now, I personally still don't love how this new Prius looks. I don't find it an attractive vehicle, but this generation has definitely lost the porpoisey nature that previous generations seem to embrace. And with these 19-inch rims, that's right, you can now get 19-inch rims on a Toyota Prius, this vehicle does kind of look futuristic and almost concept car-esque. So this is the Prius Prime XSE Premium. Prime means that this vehicle is the plug-in hybrid, and XSE Premium is the top-of-the-line trim level for Prius Prime. So this is the most expensive Prius you can get at $43,000 as spec'd. The regular Prius starts at about $27,000 going into the high 30s, and the Prius Prime starts at $32,000 going all the way up into about $43,000. Now, this XSE Premium does have a really cool feature that you can only get on this trim level, which is a solar roof. This solar roof actually charges the 13.6 kilowatt hour battery that gives this Prius Prime 40 miles of all-electric driving. So as it's sitting here right now, it is generating electricity that is going into this battery and increasing the car's range, which is pretty cool. Now, it's not very fast. It takes about 72 hours of direct sunlight to charge this Prius Prime's battery, so that would be about 6 days in optimal condition. In this car's roughly 1 year on the road, it has generated 48 kilowatt hours of electricity, which is about 3.5 times this car's battery capacity. So it definitely does charge the battery, and it definitely does give you some free electricity, but you can't be relying on this. This car also lives in Southern California, where it is sunny a lot of the time. So in other places, if it's cloudy, if you get less sun, you're going to be getting less electricity from the solar roof. But it's still really cool that you can charge this car from the sun. And in an apocalypse, this is one of the only vehicles that would be able to power itself without any infrastructure. This new interior of the Prius is really nice. The day after I'm filming this right now, I'm going to be posting my review of the Toyota Tacoma, the new Toyota Tacoma. And in that video, I talk about how important that new interior is for the vehicle. And this new Prius's interior feels equally as important. The old interior, well, it wasn't necessarily bad. It was kind of plasticky and almost childish and playful, youthful in a way, like not very serious. This feels very grown up and very premium. All of the materials that you touch are pretty soft touch and pretty nice. I mean, there are some black plastics, like scratchy materials, but overall it's very nice. And this kind of has almost every option ticked. So you get heated and cooled seats, a heated steering wheel. It just does feel very nice and very useful in here. You also have a massive 12.3-inch infotainment system that is been brought very close to you, which is very nice. It does full screen CarPlay and Android Auto. Now here in the second row, you are going to notice this car's sleeker profile. There isn't a whole lot of headroom for me at 6'2". This is noticeably less than the last generation Prius because the back seat is actually a place I've spent time in Ubers, but there is enough knee room and enough foot room, and I can fold down this center armrest to reveal a couple of cup holders. And you do have one level heated seats for both outboard seats and 2 USB-C charging outlets and a 2-prong 1500 watt outlet. So it's not terrible back here, but it is tighter than the last generation. Driving the Toyota Prius Prime, and if I had to describe the driving dynamics of this car in one word, it would be nimble. I've mostly been driving this car in EV mode, and even though you don't get too much horsepower in just EV mode, you still do get instant torque, which makes the car feel pretty zippy. It doesn't feel too slow when you are just driving around in electric mode. And I've been seeing about 38, 39 miles on a full charge. It goes up if you turn off the climate control, but I normally am driving with the climate controls on. So I've been seeing about 38 or 39 miles per charge, which is pretty good for the smaller battery pack that this car has. This is smaller than the battery pack than you get in a RAV4 Prime, probably because that car is bigger and has more space to store a battery pack. This one's 13.6 kilowatt hours, and that 38, 39 miles is a pretty good figure. But switching now into hybrid mode from EV mode and into sport mode and putting my foot down, You now get all 220 horsepower, and it takes a second for you to feel all of that power, but then the car does shoot forward. 0 to 60 is going to happen in the mid 6-second range, which is far better than former Priuses, and 220 horsepower is by far the largest figure we have seen from a Prius, and it is a very zippy powertrain once you are moving when you are in hybrid mode with the EV motor and this gas 4-cylinder working in conjunction with each other. But most of the time you are going to be driving in EV mode. That's why you are paying the premium over the regular Prius, so that you can get that all-electric range, those 40 miles. Because if you are not going to be charging this vehicle and actually getting the benefit of not having to use the gas engine on certain trips, then you might as well just get the regular Prius and not spend the extra money. So if you are getting the Prime, I do recommend definitely having access to charging overnight. Even just a 120 volt outlet would suffice. That will charge the car in probably 8 to 10 hours. So overnight you'll get a full charge, and I definitely recommend having access to charging, again, if you are going to get this Prius Prime. Otherwise it doesn't really make sense. This one does have a solar roof, so it is charging right now that I'm driving down on a sunny day. But again, 72 hours of direct sunlight, so 6 days in optimal conditions. Aside from the powertrain, I am blown away by how premium this car feels in its other driving dynamics. It rides really well. I've been in the back of mini Priuses in Ubers, as I mentioned, and you know, they're economy cars. They feel like economy cars. This does feel a step up. Even with these 19-inch rims, the ride is really good, and you do feel removed from the road. It's also very quiet in here. It's very hushed, without the engine noise, without the drone of the 4-cylinder, which is quite loud when it does kick on. You do hear it and you do feel it, and it does kind of sound like a lawnmower. But when you are in electric mode cruising down the road, it is quite quiet in here. You don't really hear the sounds of cars driving past you all that much. There's great noise cancellation, passive noise cancellation in this car. I'm not a huge fan of this steering wheel underneath the gauge cluster and looking over the top of the steering wheel at the instrument cluster, but it fits the Prius better than it did the Toyota BZ4X. In the BZ4X, I was struggling to both see the instrument cluster and move my legs underneath the steering wheel. I couldn't find a happy middle ground. It just fits a little better with the seating position, at least for me. In this Prius, I can fully see the instrument cluster and I can control the steering wheel and not hit it with my legs. So I'm not as bothered by it in this Prius Prime. These seats are also very comfortable, and as I give it some gas in EV mode, yeah, it definitely takes a moment in EV mode to pick up, but it's plenty for around town. On the highway, it is nice to have that extra power of the gas engine, but these seats are very comfortable, and overall this cabin is just a pleasant place to spend time. I really wouldn't mind spending a long time in here, and it's definitely a big step up from the last generation. And taking a corner with speed, the car definitely leans in the bends. It's not a sports car, but it also doesn't completely lose its composure. It is a bit more nimble than, I would say, a Toyota Corolla. I think probably because it has a little extra weight with this 13.6 kilowatt hour battery pack in this Prius Prime, helps keep its center of gravity low. I'm right behind a BMW M3 competition, and this is nowhere near as dynamic as that vehicle certainly is, but you are not going to completely lose traction and skid out in a corner. You can have a little bit of fun in this Prius Prime. It is a nimble little car, and it can go around a corner. But this vehicle does exceed in what you want it to do. In the 1 week I have been driving this car, I have lost 6 miles of expected range from the gasoline engine, because I have mainly been relying on the EV portion of this powertrain, and I really have only been driving it in its gas hybrid setting to test out its speed. And really, if you do drive mostly around town, you are going to really just drive this car in EV mode. 40 miles is plenty to do most daily trips around in an urban setting. And then if you need to go on a longer road trip, you also have the added practicality of not having to rely on a charging infrastructure, and it can just drive on gas, and then it should return about 50 miles per gallon, I believe. So that's the new 5th generation Toyota Prius Prime. It offers an impressive EV driving range, an upscale upscale interior, and good driving dynamics. But for $43,000, there are a few all-electric options on the market, like the Hyundai Ioniq 6 and the Tesla Model 3. But if you're not ready to go all-electric, this new Prius Prime is a really good car. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.